The Biden administration likes to keep the president off of the podium. He hasn't held a solo news conference yet this year, but now the White House is barring some news outlets from being in the same room as our commander-in-chief. Wow, Trump would have been skewered for that. The New York Post calling President Biden a, quote, codger dodger after the Post says a reporter was banned from attending Biden's prepared remarks at the White House yesterday. The White House blamed the snub on a lack of press credentials. The Washington Post is also calling out the president. The editorial board writing this: President Biden hasn't dropped the microphone. He appears to have lost it. Mr. Biden is turning into a news media evader, and it's harmful to his presidency and the nation. In the past 100 years, only Presidents Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan averaged fewer news conferences than Mr. Biden. And should the president find that microphone, we'd probably see something like this play out.
I'm not supposed to be having this press conference. I'm not supposed to be answering all these questions. I'm going to get in trouble with my staff. Yeah, go ahead, but I pretend that you didn't answer you. I'm not supposed to take any questions, but go ahead.
We need you to move. We need you to move. We need you to move. Thank you. Let them get on with the meeting. Thank you.
Criticism that this.
You're really trying to compromise by your family's business relations.
Sir, Mr. President.
Ask the question when they have more polite people. God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you.
Would you cut the Asian trip short for the debt ceiling negotiations, sir?
Wow. Harris, two things going on here. So, number one, the press has their credentials, they're called as hard passes, renewed, and they've tend to be auto-renewed since 2017. But now they're having to reapply for them with these standards that are pretty vague. So some are saying this could limit press access. As you'll recall, President Trump did try to take credentials from two reporters. They sued. They ended up winning, but it was on a due process claim. So that issue's going on. And then the New York Post reporter, Stephen Nelson, who I know and I find to be a very good reporter, he's kept out of an event. And traditionally, other than COVID, when I was there, COVID, they had to reduce the number of people for spacing. But typically, you would have a New York Post reporter in there.
So on the first one with the passes, that should get extra scrutiny. Like that, like we should take a really good look as journalists why the rules are suddenly changing now. A president whose approval rating is 36%, a president who's lost from 90% to 58%. Black support among those in a survey recently as well. I mean, when you start to look at the politics of a situation, that's when I think it's fair to ask, why are the rules changing? Because those are some of the questions that reporters would want to ask about, and a whole host of other things. On the second point about being kept out of an event, let's think about that event for a second. It wasn't a news conference, but there were other media there and free to come in. The Daily Mail, by the way, is reporting that there was more than just the New York Post reporter kept out. So I need to make my facts and know what those other groups were. But that's just worth noting, too. But the bigger issue here is that there were 20 empty seats. So there's got to be a reason why you would keep an outlet out. It can't be space. COVID is over. Title 42 is coming. So that's coming to an end. So we know COVID's over. So what is the reason why you would keep them out?
Hunter Biden?
Well, that would mean it would be on your feelings. And I'm hoping that the White House and the press secretary are less about their feelings and more about their jobs and the facts.
I hope so, Emily. But like Hunter Biden, the New York Post, President Biden called them Russian disinformation. So.
Right. I have no faith in that being an actual articulable reason. Look, they can dish it, but they can't take it. That's the bottom line. They are just hypocrites there in that administration. They can stand there all day and preach about inclusivity and the importance of having every voice at the table and how everyone's voice matters. But when push comes to shove, they cannot handle tough questions. They can't handle specific questions. They can't handle being pressed. They would rather those 20 seats be filled by TikTok influencers. So here's your talking point. Go ahead and amplify it to all the kids out there, because all that we care about is being a robotic perpetuation of our initial narratives. The distinction as well between, as you've pointed out, Kayleigh, between Reagan and Nixon, and Reagan and this president, is that Reagan went on to win. So when you contrast, again, his hiding from the press, as the WAPO says, it absolutely is detrimental to our nation's sovereignty. This is someone that at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, remember, said, this is like always. You know, I come in, I make some prepared remarks, and then I cheerfully walk away. Scott Jennings at CNN said, he's not laughing with you, press corps. He's laughing at you. And he's doing the same to the American people.
He is laughing at you, and we have the proof. Let's roll it.
I know they're going to be really excited about going to ask the press to leave. Thank you.
Mr. President, why do you want to 1 more year?
So I can get to answer your questions.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's go.
Stay tuned. This dinner sums up my first 2 years in office. I'll talk for 10 minutes, take 0 questions, and cheerfully walk away. Yeah, I know. I just announced my re-election campaign.
I mean, why are reporters enraged by this, Rachel?
Well, when there was the reporter from, I think, an African outlet who complained about lack of access,
Yes.
the rest of the press corps told them to shut up and sit down. They're again in cahoots with the Biden administration. They're state media. They want to cover for him, and that's what they do every single time. Look, I've said for a long time, I think that this presidency from the beginning was cruel. I've did a whole podcast on the cruelty of Jill Biden to put her husband in this position. He's obviously deteriorating before our eyes. And I believe that why we're starting to hear more from other outlets about it is I think they want to move him on. They understand from the poll numbers that you brought up, Harris, this thing is not, the wheels are coming off the bus right now, and they need a replacement. I've said for a long time I think it's going to be Michelle Obama, but we'll see. We shall see what happens here. But there is clearly a lot of concern and alarms going off on the Democrat side that he is not ready for another 4 years.
Yeah, you know, Doug, and we don't have time to play it. I'll paraphrase Biden here. He said he had a press conference coming up. It was an MSNBC interview.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm sorry. Yeah, all voices matter except those who disagree with us. And I think that's the slogan of this White House. But also the other thing is, did you watch that? And we were watching here, we were sort of laughing. That's what the world sees. That's not a Saturday Night Live skit. That is the president of the United States.
Yep.
They're going into an election cycle. I agree. They're trying to hide this. But they don't have a good alternative. They don't have a vice president they could put forward. They don't have another candidate that they could put forward. So now they're just, you watch this White House, watch the media. I think you'll see this for a few months, and then you're just going to shut down. There'll not be a Washington Post. They said, Washington Post say, well, we did an editorial about that a long time ago.
Yes.
Now we're into the convention. We don't want to appear political. This will combine around because they don't want to have to, because the worst thing to do is let him go speak, and then we have to spend aisle 5 cleanup for the rest of the week.
Please tell me that she's not going to come back out to that lectern in the White House as press secretary and mention the Hatch Act after she talks about politics all the time.
I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, she will.
I mean,
really?
Come on.
I mean, what else is she going to do?
We'll see, 1 p.m. today.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.